Good afternoon and welcome to the Ask Dr. Renee Show. In case you've never been to the show before, this show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life you deserve. Because let's face it, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the only life we have, so we might as well do it big, right? So today's guest is amazing. She's done a lot of great things, and I want to get into them. So we are going to hurry up and introduce her. Tai Beauchamp, thank you for coming. I so appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure, Renee. It's great to see you. It's great to see you. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. I am sheltering in place like a lot of other people. And so I am 7 weeks not even going to the grocery store. So.
Wow. Good for you. But you know what? I appreciate that. I really haven't been to the grocery store but once. You know, living in a metropolitan area like LA, I take full advantage of the Instacarts, the personal shoppers, and also just not wanting to deal with the headache of it. So I feel really blessed to have done that. But I also, my heart just goes out for a lot of people, obviously, who are struggling and suffering during this time. So yeah, but it's good to see you.
You too. You too. Yeah, Chicago's the same way. I do Instacart and all that great stuff, and I get what I need, and we're good. So
Amen.
Amen. So Tai, what did you want to be when you were growing up as a child?
Ooh, well, I think, interestingly enough, I would say my youngest proclamation of a job title or profession was a doctor. I come from a family of mostly educators. And so, you know, I think you were either supposed to select or choose being a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher or a nurse. But I also knew very early, probably when I was about 3 or 4, and I didn't know what this meant then, that I would speak in front of people. Like, it was very clear to me at about 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, I was speaking in church very early, reciting in oratory classes from the time I was like 4 or 5. I think my grandmother had me in them. So my first choice didn't work out. But God's choice obviously worked out. I got to Spelman, and God bless you, Dr. Renee. I got to Spelman in 1 year of bio, and it was like, all right, and I'm out. And I'm out. Deuces.
You tried.
I tried. I gave it a whole year, a whole year.
So what did you study at Spelman?
I ended up studying English literature. Spelman is a traditional liberal arts college. And so, in hindsight, I really wanted to study communications or broadcast, but I was always a writer. And so English literature was the closest thing to it. But fortunately, when you're in school in the AUC, the Atlanta University Center, you're able to cross-register. So I took a lot of communications classes over at Clark Atlanta. I took a couple classes at Morehouse, of course. Perhaps maybe not to be in the class for what was being delivered, but yes.
So you are from Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And so how did you, because a lot of people, especially in our demographic, to go to school, period, but then to go to school out of state is a big deal. So how did you end up at Spelman?
Oh my gosh. God's grace, truly. God's amazing grace. He placed my mentor, who became my mentor later, so literally, I always knew I wanted to go to Spelman. It was actually the only HBCU I applied to. I applied to NYU, Rutgers, Princeton, UPenn, Penn State. I was really looking at mostly in the Northeast, with the exception of Spelman. And my mom was a single mom who raised me with the help of my grandparents. And so I knew that I had been in private school all of my life. And so the thought was, I'll go to college in state. Rutgers is an amazing university. You get, in-state tuition. On high school graduation day, my mentor happened to be at my small all-girls private high school in Newark, New Jersey, St. Vincent Academy, seeing a student who was a part of a program that he had created graduate. And he was there to see Genevieve graduate. And heard me and heard about me and ended up giving me a full scholarship to Spelman on graduation day.
Oh, wait a sec. We can't hear you. Oh, now we can. Okay. On graduation day, go ahead.
So on graduation day, heard about me and learned about me. I was a pretty decent student athlete and offered me a full scholarship to Spelman. So that's how I got to Spelman, legitimately.
Wow.
And I was fortunate to go to Spelman on a full academic scholarship.
That is a blessing. That is a
Oh,
blessing.
Jesus. Amen.
So,
Amen. Say it again.
what was your goal when you were leaving Spelman? Where were you going? What were your aspirations? What was your big goal? And then realistically, what was the next, step?
Well, I was really fortunate again. I mean, I worked really hard. So I do attribute a lot in most of my life to God's amazing favor that has been shown in my life. But I also was a person and am a person who rose to the occasion, because I believe, I don't know what the audience is comprised of, but I think it's one thing to have faith, but it's also something else to activate your faith. And I believe that no matter who or what you believe in, there's an activation process. And so I was always very intentional about activating my life. So my mentor also helped guide me after I dropped out of biology, after I failed. I didn't really fail, but dang near. After, that process, he was like, well, what do you love doing? And I had, modeled as a teenager. And so loved fashion. And I was always a writer. I started writing when I was about 8 years old. And he said, well, why don't you become a fashion writer? And it never dawned on me. So when I was leaving Spelman, my goal at that point was to become an editor-in-chief, which was realized. I'm really fortunate to say. And I started interning while I was at Spelman, and interned at Harper's Bazaar and Good Housekeeping. And so my first job out of college was working for this amazing human by the name of Oprah Winfrey. And that was my first job out of college. I started there about a month after graduating.
Wow.
As the first fashion and beauty assistant at the Oprah magazine. Yeah.
That is pretty big.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
I mean, I didn't realize it then. I had no clue how big it was then. I think, one, because I was young and dumb. But then two, because quite frankly, at 22 years old, I mean, I always appreciated Oprah. My grandmother liked her. My best friend, Yasmin, who was my childhood best friend and still my best friend, loved her even while we were in high school and college. And, I appreciated her, but I wasn't trying to live my best life at 22. I was like, she's cool. She's all right.
Right.
So I didn't appreciate fully what it meant, but I definitely am super, super, super blessed and grateful for that experience. And I shared the other day that to date, I haven't had a lot of internal corporate experiences because I became an entrepreneur when I was 26. But that was the best job ever in terms of a corporate experience I could have had.
That is pretty cool. So you did that, and then you went on to other publications, right?
Yep. So I left Oprah. I was there for about 2.5 years. I was promoted wonderfully and really celebrated and given, the lane and the opportunity to grow and learn and make a ton of mistakes and be young and dumb, but at the same time, poised and committed to growth. And then I went from there to work on a magazine that is no longer around. And I worked on it before it became this magazine. So I also was helping to build and establish brands and titles early. So I worked on Suede before Suede was Suede. I worked on the prototypes of Suede. And then I left there to go to 17 magazine when Hearst bought 17 magazine. And I was a beauty director there. And then later, after taking a little break from publishing, I also became the editor of Vibe Vixen magazine.
Nice. So you said you wanted to talk to people. Did you know that entrepreneurship was in your realm, or had you not thought about that? Because I'm sure your grandmother was like, you get a good job working for great people and you get paid a check every whatever.
Girl, let me just tell you, she actually went a step further than that. While I was working at Oprah, and my family was all in New Jersey at the time, so they were only 25 minutes away. And at this time, my mom was still in education. My stepfather, educator. My grandmother had retired from the State Department of Labor as a counselor who oversaw the educational programming. And I'll never forget, she called me one day in my cubicle, wasn't an office, a cubicle. And she said, Tai, I was just looking and I realized that your office is on Broadway. Did you know that Columbia University is on Broadway? And they have an amazing teachers college and program that you can go and get your master's degree. When are you going to go get your master's degree? And I was like, girl, I ain't. Like, that's not, I don't think that's in the stars for me. Meanwhile, I had bylines and, you know, so I think from my grandmother, and what I will say, Renee, unfortunately, my grandmother has never really been able to fully appreciate the professional achievements I've had, because she became ill right before I took the job at Vibe Vixen. She became ill before that. So I was consulting and building my, consulting and doing philanthropic work, which she appreciated. But I also think, and I deal with this now, even with my parents, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you because you're a doctor. So at least when you're doing your other things, they're like, but I know she got something to fall back on if anything should happen, right? My parents still, my mom is like, people always ask me what you do, because honestly, while I gratefully and humbly celebrate the different things I do, I feel uncomfortable. It doesn't feel great to own just one of them, because I feel like the totality of the myriad of things that I do ultimately support the way that I want to impact the world, which is the driving force for me. I'm not driven by money. I like it, but that's not a driving force for me. I've done a lot of things for a lot less money than most. I am not driven by ego. I'm driven by how many people can I reach meaningfully and purposefully. So that's why I love doing the myriad of things that I get to do. And fortunately, I'm pretty good at them.
Yeah, and you know what? That is exactly my thing, because everyone's like, but you're a doctor. And I said, yeah, but if I was in an office, I could only see how many people. Whereas with these platforms and me speaking, and, I have a show that's in 45,000 doctors' offices across the country, and in Walgreens, I'm speaking to more people and I'm touching more people. And my thing is to educate the masses, to touch everyone. I want to teach about health, but I also want to teach you to live the life you deserve. A lot of people are out here living miserably. And as we know, especially with what we're going through now with the pandemic, we know life is short. And tomorrow is not promised. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can get coronavirus and be gone tomorrow. So please, definitely, I really want to make sure that I get that out there. And I'm like you, I've done a lot of stuff for free too, but and you're right. My parents, well, they were like, you need to be in the hospital. And I'm like, I don't think that's where I belong. This is really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Melody Hobson on Good Morning America. And I am doing a lot of things that I didn't know that I would do, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And so
I absolutely love Melody.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Melody. She is a force. And so that's an amazing example.
Yeah.
Amazing example.
And she was nice enough to, she's here in Chicago. I met her and she was nice enough to talk to me and was like, whatever you need, let me, this is what you should do. She gave me tips and was like, you have more questions, come back and we'll keep on going. So she's what kind of got me where I'm, how I got on this road to keep on moving. So yeah, it's crazy. And your grandmother's of a different generation. So is your mom, just like my parents. And so they understand working for people. And like my dad, he was always an entrepreneur, but it was a side hustle. He always had a 9 to 5.
But what I will say, I don't believe everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. I also believe that we live in a time right now where there is an over glamorization of entrepreneurship. And I believe that being innovative, creating, building, developing is really important for us as people of color, especially in terms of how we build and grow community, and how we expand community and how we sustain community. I think it's important, but it's not for everyone.
Right.
And what sometimes makes me a little afraid is when I speak to young people who are 25 years old, and I can draw just from my own example as a case in point, who are 25-year-olds and they give me their cards, or 23-year-olds, and they're highly aspirational, which I think is important and great. And they give me cards that say mogul at 23. And I'm like, not so sure you're a mogul yet.
Right.
And not because there's something about, this is not about, repositioning them or altering their mindset and their desire to do it. But it is important that we have to realize that there is a process in everything. And, you know, was I a good entrepreneur when I started my business in 2006? Absolutely not. Am I a better entrepreneur 14 years later? Absolutely. And I think that, you know, being intentional about that growth and recognizing not what you know, but being mindful about what you don't know.
Right.
And being intentional about developing and honing that, which is why also, like, even as a multi-hyphenate, I'll call myself a purposeful multi-hyphenate. I just joined and started a new business just less than a month ago. But even with being a multi-hyphenate, what I say is, like, there are some things I'm great at and there are other things I'm not great at. Don't just say for the sake of saying that you're doing something. Don't just be in that place where you're just saying I'm doing it. Be intentional about developing the skill sets and the tools needed to thrive at it and master it. And that's why I think I sometimes, I don't want to say get bored, but why I'm intrigued and excited to move on to new things, because in some ways I've mastered it. So when people ask me about hosting red carpets, I'm not interested. I did that. I did it 12 and 10 years ago, and I did it at the highest level. And I was super grateful for it. But the conversations I want to have right now extend beyond who are you wearing? And it's not, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but I did it.
Right.
Or even having a conversation about, you know, the trends. It's nice, but it doesn't fulfill or satisfy where I am, because I've grown. So.
And if you hadn't, then, you know, there might be a problem there. You need to grow, and then also make room for other people.
Make room for other people, and also create the lane and space to bring people along. That's something I'm super committed to. You know, there are younger people. I'm still young. There are younger people that I, you know, not even with like kind of like this, you know, formal way of mentoring. You know, a young lady sent me her, you know, a clip of something she did the other day on TV, and she asked how she did. And I said, oh my God, you were so great. You were engaging. You did this. You were charming. You were this. But I have some ideas about the ways you can improve this and own the conversation. And that's what I'm intending to do. And I also had sent her reel and her things out to people to say, look, I'm not doing that show anymore. Have you thought about this person? So, yeah, it's important to not only make room, but to also usher the right people into those spaces, especially for young Black women.
Definitely. And, you know, and watching even the reel that I posted of you, I didn't even realize that you had done some of that stuff. Like, I think I forgot. So I always have to tell the story of how I know my guests. So Ty and I were at a birthday party for a mutual friend of ours, and being the friendly friend that people sometimes call me, and she's very friendly, we were just at the table and we talked. And I don't even remember what you said you did at that time, because when I saw you on TV the first time after that, I go, I really think, I called my sister, I go, I think this lady on TV was the person sitting next to me at the birthday party. And my sister's like, are you sure? And I go, I'm not sure, but I really think it's her. And then I was going to ask some other friends of ours, and I was like, I'm not going to embarrass myself, because I just don't want to make a complete fool of myself. I'm just not going to say anything. And then I ran into you at Essence and said, Ty, I've been seeing you, I think. And you're like, yes, because I wasn't sure. And I was like, I'm just going to go up to her, and if it's not her, I'm going to be totally embarrassed. But I really think that she is the person, and she might remember who I am. And she goes,
yep, totally.
No, I know who you are. And I was like, oh my God, it was her.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing about, and thank you, I think the other thing about TV, and it's so interesting now with social media, because when I started doing TV, there was no social media. When I started working regularly with TV, because as an editor, I did some TV. Obviously, it was like, you know, the representative of the magazine, and would go on and do segments. But when I left publishing and started working with Procter & Gamble and became the face of My Black is Beautiful, is really when my television career started to take off. I you know, was a regular person on the Wendy Williams show because of an integration. So I was on every couple of weeks. It always felt, and this is, I just think, my person, I've never been defined by what I do professionally. So even when people ask, like, tell me about you, and I'm like, okay, so what do you mean? Do you want to know where I'm from? Do you want to know, am I the person that froze my eggs? Like, because then there's that.
Right.
Do you want to know my favorite color? You know, all the things, because for me, I feel so blessed to do what I do, but they're jobs, you know, and I feel even more blessed in the jobs and the roles that I have, that I'm passionate about them and I'm purposed in them, and they allow me to really tap into a myriad of skill sets, talents, and also loves, but they're not defining. They're just really an extension of me being able to be a blessing, hopefully, is how I see it.
Definitely. Definitely. And with your new venture, I actually did. I had a friend that was selling CBD products. And so I tried CBD oil, I think for 30 or 60 days. And she said, oh, it's going to do this, this, and this. And I really didn't see a difference. And I was like, you know, maybe I just wasn't the market for it, because I didn't have aches and pains and I didn't have this and that. So I was like, perhaps it just wasn't me. But I know a lot of people have had really tremendous, you know, the inflammation has gone down. They've lost weight. You know, I've heard a lot of great stories about it. So can you tell us more about Brown Girl Jane?
Yeah, thank you. Listen, so I really do feel God has really placed me in the right place at the right time, just even based upon my personal and professional journey with joining Brown Girl Jane. So Brown Girl Jane is a luxury plant-based wellness collection using CBD. That's our sole and main ingredient. It's a company that's created by 3 Black women, 2 sisters, Malika and Nia Jones, who also happen to be my Spellman sisters, and myself. And we created this company really to support women of color and Black women in their quest and in their journey to wholeness. It's about being centered. So, you know, we really are starting with the mission and the ethos of what we stand for, because we know the frenetic, all things to all people, the times in which we live, when there's stress, we're not sleeping, there's anxiety. And, you know, we want to support women in that quest of being whole. And I say, for us, it's not about wellness, it's about wholeness for Black women, because, you know, we have to think about this wellness industry and why and how it was created. It was for a different demographic. It was for wealthy white women. We weren't meant to have access to it. And then it was for hippies, and we were not meant to have access to it. And all of that, considering all of that, when you think about our journey as Black women, we also have so much healing to do. We can't be well until we've done all of the other work. And so, you know, I'm super excited about the mission of it, but even more the efficacy of the products. And so how I ended up joining the company is Malika sent me the products to try before the products launched. And I was in a time of major transition, and I've been very vocal about this the last 3 years. While the gram will tell you it looks super pretty, the gram be lying. The gram is not all the way true. No, I'm kidding. But, you know, I've been in a major transition. I lost my grandmother a year ago. This is someone who raised me, who I helped take care of with my mother. I gave up my apartment in New York 3 years ago, wanting to settle in LA, but unsure when. Business was changing. The business model was changing. Wasn't sure about what the pivot looked like. And I really was in a place of like, what's next? Not knowing. The way that everyone is feeling right now during COVID, I've been feeling. That's all I can say. I mean, I have been feeling that way. And fortunately, right now, I haven't felt like that during COVID for a while. So I'm super, super grateful. But when Malika sent me the products, and I had known about CBD, but in THC, obviously, and you know, cannabis as a whole, but I did not understand the real properties of CBD, which is the non-psychoactive strand of cannabis. There are more than 100 that you can divide. So the THC is what creates the psychoactive properties where people would feel high. CBD gives you no high. As you said, it reduces, I mean, as a doctor, it reduces inflammation. It can be used topically for all types of skin disorders. It can be used to to help facilitate healing of joints and all of that. And so she sent it to me, and also anxiety because of our endocannabinoid system, which you which you know. So we have a natural endocannabinoid system that's already there. And so CBD, that strand of cannabis, supports the health and the overall function of our endocannabinoid system, which helps us to, remain calm, get rid of anxiety, not feel anxious, all of those things. And so CBD supports that. And so anyway, when Malika sent me the product, I was going through this crazy time. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I need to sleep. I ain't sleeping. I'll try it. Okay, I need to feel balanced. I'll try it. And literally after 5 days of using it consistently, I felt the difference. I was sleeping better. I was feeling a lot less anxious. And I was in New York at the time. And I was like,
yep. Give her a sec. She'll be right back. We can't see you, but we can hear.
I see that. Let's see if it's okay. Let's see.
I think it's coming back.
Right. Okay, it's taking a moment. I'm sorry about that. I'm
It's
doing
okay.
this from my phone only because, well, the video is still on. Let's see if I do this. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, yep. There you are. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
I'm back. But I really started to feel the difference. And I thought to myself, like, I know, I'm not a mother yet. I'm not married yet. But I thought about my best friend who's a mother, who is a mother of two, is a wife, who is a principal in a school in New York. I thought about my girlfriend who's a single mom, who is, running another organization. And like, I want women to know about this. I want women to have the tools and the resources, as well as, having been on this physical health and wellness journey, to just be healthier after feeling depressed and anxious and then, all those things for years. I put on weight and I was like, I'm gonna get serious about weight loss. And so looking at that in totality, joining Brown Girl Jane was a no-brainer. I don't know if Malika, when she reached out to me, really had that in mind, but I may have bum rushed my way in like,
Right.
I've been thinking about what's next. And so I'm super excited about it. And Brown Girl Jane is for us, by us, and is the most efficacious, high quality, well-positioned, and the response has been insane. We are selling a lot, and I'm super grateful. We're launching next week, or June 1, our first skincare beauty product. We're launching the Glow Serum, which is great for, like I said, anti-inflammatory issues. Like some people even who have acne have seen a difference in their skin, eczema, psoriasis, all of those differences. And I'm glowing today, aren't I? I don't have very much makeup on. So there you go. See?
Mm-hmm. You always look fabulous, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. BrownGirlJane.com.
BrownGirlJane.com, and on Insta it's Brown Girl Jane. So ITS Brown Girl Jane. Join us. I mean, we consider our community our tribe. We refrain from using the term audience or consumers. That's our tribe, because we see ourselves as in each other for sure.
So I have to talk about Lens of Culture because one, I like to travel, and that's one thing that I'm missing right now. But so Lens of Culture, in case you guys don't know, is a fabulous travel show. And her and her partner, I'm just escaping his name. What's the first name? And Elton Anderson, right? They do that on Clio TV. Clio is a sister station to TV1. And actually, you can see Saturdays, they have a couple episodes back to back. So are you guys going to continue doing that?
So we did get picked up for a second season. That did happen. It happened actually last September, October. We were renewed pretty quickly because the show and the response, and thank you for that. I loved working on the show. Loved working on the show. Loved working on the show, and loved producing it and hosting it, and loved working with Elton, loved working with the dynamic group of producers out of New Jersey, and loved the storytelling that we are doing. I decided not to return to the show prior to COVID, mostly because, I've been traveling and I love traveling, but I literally have been on the road for the last 10 years. And last year I traveled, I think 190 days out of the year. And while traveling seems super, super glamorous, it also impacts your wellness and your health. And being
Yeah.
able to be in a committed relationship with full intention. And I'm 42. And so what I believe is what I said earlier about like how we develop as people. We have to be intentional about how we invest and where and how we reinvest. So I love traveling. I pray the show does come back post-COVID. I think it will be a major opportunity to support tourism.
Yes.
But as of right now, I don't plan to return. But those are my peeps. So support Lens of Culture, support Clio TV, support TV One, support BET, support good content that speaks to us. Absolutely.
Definitely. And I want to talk about, because just like you said, everyone sees all the glamorousness on IG and everything about everyone and these entrepreneurs and people on TV. But I want you to speak about the show you had that was on TLC that was on for way too short. But I want people to understand, how do you get through stuff like that? Because I think people don't realize in this business, we get a whole lot more no's than we get yeses. And and somebody asked me the other day, how do you get up when you're going to have like all these doors slamming like all day long? And I was like, you have to understand your why, and you have to just be able to keep pushing through. And like you said before, faith without works is dead. So I do have all the faith in the world, but I have to be actionable in what my faith. And so, yes, I got to know, but then I will pivot and we'll do it over here this way. And sure enough, we'll end up with a yes, but you have to keep moving. So that show was really cool. If you guys didn't watch it, it reminded you of what not to wear from back in the day, but it was Tai. So it was amazing. So how did you handle that? Like, how do people, because I just know people need to understand failure and, disappointment.
So I think, what's so interesting, this is a very interesting topic. And I think specifically as we think about the entertainment industry as a whole, it's one of the reasons why I think being an entrepreneur and a creative who can be in front of the camera, but who has a real passion and knack for strategy and business is what makes me different. And that's what I encourage all creatives to do. I'm not saying you have to love it as much, but you need to understand that, because that is the more sustaining thing. And that also was a huge point of difference for me. I think coming into the TV space, I had this whole other career as an editor. And even though I was super young, I had done it at a pretty high level. The no's, listen, I totally get more no's than yes. And that has been that's been standard. You unfortunately become numb. So I will say for me personally, I just signed a deal that I haven't spoken openly about to develop a show that I created that I will host as well. But I'm also a creator. Like I said, I established magazines. So a lot of people didn't realize that I was creating all this content behind the scenes that may or may not feature me. I was producing the segments on Wendy alongside, but people didn't know that. I don't get excited about any of them. So, I'm actually speaking to my agent later on. She's like, oh my God, the deal is done. Congratulations. I'm like, where the money at? So you have to learn, and this is a principle that is really important, I think, not only in life, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, but especially professionally. People who go from these extreme highs, I'm super happy, I got the TV show. I'm super unhappy the TV show is gone. You have to learn how to really kind of live in this space of, where this is. And not because you're not grateful, not because you don't acknowledge God's blessings or gifts, not because you don't want more. But I think it is a way, not necessarily even to protect yourself, but to understand that life is really, is ebbs and flows. But you said something, Renee, that I think is super important. What makes you get up every morning? Getting up is one piece of it. But some days you need to lay down. No, I mean, legitimately. You're right. So we use this analogy. Sometimes you need to lay down in order to be strategic about that pivot, because also just because you have a desire or a passion to do something doesn't mean that you're called to do it. And that's something very, very different. It's why I say to people, like, I'm called to inspire, empower, and help shift the way women see themselves in the world and show up as their fullest and most in their highest selves. That's what I'm called to do. I can do that on TV. I can do that on the street corner in Newark, as I have done before. So my purpose is not attached to the how I do it. The why I do it remains the same. And so I think oftentimes so many of us are trying to force what we believe we're supposed to be doing because we're passionate about it, but it's not really the driving force of our why. And so that's when you find it more difficult to get up.
Yeah.
Because you're not clear about your why. And that's work, that takes work. And that takes work not once in life, but sometimes 10 times in life. Because as you evolve and grow, what you desire for your life and what God is calling you to do in your life is going to evolve as well. And it should.
Mm-hmm.
And it should. Which Definitely. Is why I don't want to be on the road 193 days a year. I just don't have that desire. I could totally do 100 happily. But 190 is a lot.
It is. It is. So we have to talk about, so if you didn't know, in Essence magazine, how many years ago was it?
That was
7?
I froze my eggs 7 years ago.
Yeah,
so the article came out 6 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
So 6 years ago, Tai was in Essence talking about freezing her eggs when it really was not the in thing to do, particularly for women of color. It was probably on the edge of something that other people did, but still definitely wasn't for us. And no one talked about it. So one, what told you to freeze your eggs? Because I have been having this discussion. I know you did the Omnoir virtual summit recently, and shout out to Christina. And you did it with Dr. Cindy, who actually is one of my clients. And Dr. Cindy and we had the discussion. And so we had an event in October here for people like us. And so half of them actually were doctors, because I kept telling them, you don't know what you don't know until you talk to her. And sure enough, they all left there and were like, I had no idea. I said, see, this is why you need to talk to her. So me and Cindy decided, and also, there was enough pull from pharmaceuticals that we need to do a tour. And then COVID came. So as soon as we can leave our houses again, we are going to go across the country and we're going to have these discussions with Black women, because this is a discussion that's not had in our community. Whereas in other communities at 21, at 30, grandma, mom, shoot, they're even giving you a gift of an egg freezing.
Yep.
So this is something that we are not saving for. We're not talking about. But what happens is especially Tai and we're professional women. We get all the way up to where we're trying to get in our careers. And then we look and it's like, wait a minute, we forgot to get married. We forgot to have kids. But, grandma and mom were always saying, don't get pregnant until you get married. Well,
now what?
So it's really a conversation that I'm really excited to keep having. But I know that I guess because I am a doctor, a lot of my friends, 20-something, 30-something, 40-something come into me like, Renee, my doctor kind of mentioned something about freezing my eggs, but that's silly, right? And I'm like, no. And so I've been encouraging and telling people. So how did you end up having this conversation, to even think to do that?
So good question. And you're so right. You touched on so many things that really was the reason why I came out and talked about it. I think most importantly, the reason why I talked about it is because I knew as a young woman myself who had this meteoric, professional rise in the publishing world, no one was saying to me, and I was actually engaged. Let me take that back. I was in a committed relationship and engaged, but my mother and my grandmother, based upon their own experience, were not saying to me, where's your man? They were telling me I didn't need a man. It was actually the exact opposite, right? You don't need anybody. You don't need anybody. And they meant well. That's often the narrative, I think. But I was diagnosed with fibroids, which is also a condition that overwhelmingly impacts our community and Black women more so than our white counterparts. And my mother and my grandmother both had fibroids. So I always knew that I was going to have them at some point. But I was diagnosed with them when I was 33. My doctor, Dr. Judy Banks, shout out to my love. I adore her. I need to text her today. Said, we're going to take these fibroids out, but when are you thinking about having children? And I was like, Dr. Banks, I guess you think I'm just bringing Jesus coming back right now. Like, girl, what's happening?
Immaculate conception.
And not that it could have been really immaculate, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
I was like, ma'am, I need someone to share that with. And so I said, okay, if I'm 35 and I have not partnered, I will do it. I also had two big sisters, two dynamic sisters, Kim Hatchett and Karen Pavlin, one of Morgan Stanley, another one at Xerox, super And they're like big sisters who I've known since I was 19, who started telling me when I was about 29 or 28 to freeze my eggs, which was crazy. I was like, huh, you guys are funny. Then I had another girlfriend, Elaine Fluker, who I worked with in magazine publishing, who had done it a year before me. And she was a little bit older than I was. I think when Elaine did it, she was probably about 34 or 30, maybe 34 or 35. But the seed had been planted because I also knew that I would have to be intentional about finding my partner, which is why I'm not getting on the planes as much anymore, right? So now she's 42 now, she got it. The memo is signed, sealed, initialed, highlighted, she got it. But, perhaps then not as much. And so I just knew that I wanted to be intentional to preserve my fertility. I pray right now, I'm still absolutely able to have a healthy child naturally. But for me, it was just about preserving fertility. And the reason why I decided to talk about it is because for this very reason that you said, no one was talking about it. I didn't realize this until the conversation with Dr. Cindy last week or 2 weeks ago, that when I did it in 2013, I knew that I was one of 5,000 women in the country to do it. But I did not know that the FDA had just approved social cryopreservation or freezing in January of 2013. And I think I did it in July or August. I think right after or right before Essence is when I did it. Yeah. So I'm grateful. I'm happy I did it. I'm happy that the conversation continues. I'm happy that so many people saw the article. This was not about Tai Beauchamp and her journey. The eggs are still on ice. I'm still paying for those bad boys. But more about really how I see my life is really meant to be an example for other people, good, bad, and indifferent. But that in particular speaks to me because, as I shared, a graduate of an all-women's high school, an all-women's college, I do know the more knowledge we have, the more empowered and equipped we are to make decisions for our lives.
Exactly.
And, I think I'm planning to pay for my goddaughters to have their eggs frozen at 25 as a gift. I'm intending to. I have a little cousin, Gina, who turns 30 this year. I said, listen, I got a few thousand on that process for you because I think it's important. And just to be open about these conversations. I mean, we're all human. We're all dealing with the same things. Why, and it's almost like we have to counter what has been taught and told to us for so long. And I'm not talking about just as individuals. I'm talking about historically and generationally, where we're we don't talk about that in the street. Right. Well, by not talking about that, our community is suffering. Me not sharing my story and my journey is not singularly about what happens within the confines of my family or my home. That impacts the community. Me not sharing with a young entrepreneur that the first person that you need to hire is a bookkeeper and an accountant, and make sure you have an EIN, and make sure that's hurting my community. So it's bigger than our own individual journeys, and it's important that we share those stories. So I'm happy to hear about your tour. Where y'all going?
Yeah, well, we were told we need to definitely hit up cities with the HBCUs. Of course, the pharmaceuticals, they need to make money. So they are interested in speaking to women like us, whereas we want to make sure that we also speak to some college students. And so we want to go to cities where we do set up something for the adults, quote unquote, in the daytime, and then the younger people. The younger people in the daytime, the adults in the evening, something like that. So we've looked at Dallas, of course, Atlanta. I'm from Detroit, so we have to go to Detroit. We'll go to the East Coast. So we go to LA.
Let me know if you need any help, especially as you prepare to do it in places like Atlanta at Spelman. I think actually even institutionalizing it at the college level is important because it's learning. And so when you have doctors and you have science and to convene around a space that's educational, I think is really powerful. Anyway, and seasoned women will come there to learn as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing they want. Like I said, the thing is that they are not big on the college students because they can't afford but we want to make sure they have the information. So when they graduate, yes, it's all good to buy a car and buy a house, but this is something else you should think about. And what we say is really it's an insurance policy. So just in case, because you may never use them. And honestly, it's really not that expensive. It's about the equivalent of paying for a Starbucks every day. Most places is about $500 a year to keep them stored. So it's not like your life savings is going to this. It's not that expensive to keep them stored. So it's a good insurance policy to purchase, cheaper than car insurance and, life and all of these others. So it's a good insurance policy to have. Also, I do believe that a lot of people, unfortunately, rush into some situations because they want to be moms so badly, and it's the wrong situation because they felt like, well, my clock was ticking, I had to do something. And so rather than do something like that, how about you take your time finding the right person, because you do have this insurance policy?
I think all those are absolutely valid. And I think the insurance policy, the idea of just also being empowered with your own health, it's like with anything. I realize that there are areas and growth areas for me. I'm empowered in some areas, and there's areas that I need to do more work. But when you have the insight around designing what it is you want for your life, it's really the most amazing empowerment tool and resource. So I would do it all over again. And I'm super excited to continue the conversation. It's kind of interesting though, because I feel like when I talked about it so many years ago, I was in Essence, I was on World News Tonight, I was on Good Morning America, I was on MSNBC, I was on the cover of the New York Post about it all these years ago. And then nobody wanted to know anything about my eggs for a long time. Everybody had put the whole entire conversation on ice, and now it's a resurgence of the conversation. And I take that to mean, especially within our community, it's because of the continued progress and achievement that Black women are having in other aspects of their lives, but perhaps not realizing in our personal lives via, the statistics around marriage and or partnering and or relationships. So I'm happy that it's come back. I'm happy that it's come back.
And like you said, in case anyone didn't understand, when she said social egg freezing, she was talking about people not freezing their eggs because they were sick with cancer or something like that, some medical reason why they needed to freeze their eggs. So she was on the cusp of when you could actually freeze them just because you want to preserve your fertility options. She wasn't sick or anything. I have a friend, she wrote a book, Christia Donaldson. She's actually the owner, creator of Thank God It's Natural Hair Products. She wrote in her book that she had told her doctor, and her doctor said, but you're not sick, you're fine, you don't need to do that. Thankfully, she still did it, because do you know the next year she got breast cancer?
Oh, wow. Wow.
So thankfully, she has her eggs and they're frozen. So, I know some doctors have different views on this or whatever, but you need to make sure you educate yourself, which is, like I said, why we're trying to do the tour. Educate yourself so that you completely understand why and what you need to do. And then you need to find a physician that's going to help you to get that done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was so impressed with Dr. Cindy. Dr.
She's
Cindy
amazing.
M. Duke was dynamic. I loved all of the insight. I mean, for me, to be honest, it feels like so long ago that when I'm recounting the experience, I'm like, oh, right, that did happen. Oh, right, that did happen. So it was really good to even just hear her insight. And also just for me, the progress that has been made over the last 7 years in understanding the science and the viability of it and why it's essential. So it was really good.
Yeah, and Dr. Cindy Duke has been a guest on the show, and you can always go to her website, drcindyduke.com. Yes, she is located in Las Vegas, Nevada, but she has patients from overseas, other states, so you can feel free to contact her and definitely use her services because she is very, very educated. She has a very high success rate. And she's really.
I was going to talk about the success rate. That's really important, because you want to go to a clinic or to a practice that actually is not just great in the cryopreservation, but have had studies and stats around the success rates of birth that they've been able to bring forth into light using the frozen egg, because that's a whole other art and science that has to happen that other people may not have mastered.
And if you haven't, and if you ask them the question about what is their thaw rate and they don't have an answer for you, you probably need to go find a new place, because that is something they should be very forthright in telling you, because it is very important. Because let's be honest, it is a lot cheaper than it was 7 years ago, but it is still not cheap. And so you don't want to invest all of this time and money and, you know, your physical health and then have no results. So you want to make certain that wherever you go, that they actually do have success. And then the other thing that Dr. Cindy says, that she impregnates women. She works with women that are over 50. So you guys, please make sure that you don't. Yeah. So make sure that you speak to somebody and talk to them and learn, because you might think the door is closed, but it's not closed.
That, and also I think that just has me thinking, and the over 50, I'm sorry, my face looked like that because I'm legit. I am legit. I said to someone the other day, I said, listen, I think I have like another year and a half to even desire to do it, because I just don't know how much more I want to change my life.
Right.
But those are other questions. But that point of getting to 50 and being in that place, this is why it's so important for us to have the baseline and the bottom line conversations about wholeness and health and wellness, even as a preemptive conversation to that.
Yes.
Because we have to focus as Black women on our health. And this is not, and I'm so passionate about this. And I say to young women especially, this is not about aesthetics. This is not about obesity necessarily. This is about literally being healthy and being well and being whole. This is a mind, body, soul, spirit movement. And we have to be so vigilant. And unfortunately for Black women, we have put ourselves so far in the back burner because society and our experiences have conditioned us to do so for so long that now we don't know how to take it back. And the reality is that as you talk about a 50-year-old woman, God bless her, who wants to go get some eggs thawed, God bless her, you have to do all the other work to stay healthy to even bring that child to bear at 50.
Right.
And so, you know, we're talking about just so many levels, and it's why I'm so passionate. Look, I feel like I'm getting so riled up right now, why I'm so passionate about Brown Girl Jane, because, you know, there are products, but it's this conversation that is so important. And, you know, I feel blessed and fortunate to say, and I recognize also that my life is a little bit of a luxury to not have a husband yet or children yet, where I can be 100% self-full and guilt-free about it. 100%. And so I recognize that my best friend, who has 2 children and a husband and a family that she helps look after, perhaps cannot be 100% self-full, but I do believe that there is a way for her to understand the importance of being self-full and do so without guilt and unconditionally. And I want us to begin to recognize the power of that and the importance of that. And why, you know, then if you're 50 and you decide to have children, you're equipped.
Yes.
Your body is equipped. Your spirit is equipped. Your mind is equipped to do so. And you've really drawn on all the tools that you need.
Yeah, definitely. So before we leave, I want to know, what are you doing for self-care in this COVID era that we're living in right now?
So I'm sure I have clients watching, because in addition to Brown Girl Jane, I'm still running Thai Life Media, and have clients that I work with, but I'm super intentional. I don't do, and even I'm up every morning by 5:30 or 6 a.m., but I don't do any work calls typically before 10:30 a.m. because I hike almost every day. That's the beauty of being in LA. I work out every single day. And I know when to shut off. So I also have, and also let me just say this is an earned position to be in.
Right.
It's an earned position, because I will tell you, when I meet my lovely, just dogmatic and enthusiastic millennials who want to create quote unquote healthy boundaries, I have to remind them that some of that has not been earned just yet. But these earned boundaries that I've been able to instill, both in my work life, but also for me. So that's self-care for me. I love walking, you know, I also resent a little bit, even being a former beauty editor, when people are like, I get my nails done for self-care. I'm like, that's really self-care? You're just, I mean, it's topical and it's great. My nails have not been done. I put on my red lip. But you know, I think self-care has to speak to your being holistically. It can't just be one piece of it. So I make myself amazing dishes. I'm vegan now. You know, sometimes I do absolutely nothing. How about you? What do you do for self-care?
I meditate every morning before I get out of bed. I, like you, I don't answer calls before 9. And actually, I'm really serious about no computer in my bedroom, no TV in my bedroom. Like, I am going to do my meditation and I'm going to sleep. The most I will do is listen to music.
Good for you.
And then I have an alarm set on my phone to remind me to go to bed. My Fitbit goes off. And so I'm supposed to, because I am real strict about getting 7 hours sleep. So if I wake up and notice I didn't get it, I will go back to sleep to get it.
Good for you.
Sleep is I didn't realize that sleep is very important, you guys. Very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So I get my sleep. And then I do things that I like to do. I'll sit here and just, veg out to music. I love, watching movies and different shows. And since I've been sitting in this house, that's what I've been doing. I did a soca workout that was really fun. So that was me getting away from the computer, because obviously the computer is like attached to me usually. But that was me getting away from the computer and doing something else. And so for me to watch a movie and not be doing 20 other things, that's self-care, because usually I'm on the computer and I'm just listening to it. But for me to pay attention, my sister and I, we started doing Spanish classes on Duolingo. Now, I already spoke Spanish. This is to get me back to where I was. And so every night before midnight, I have like a 70-day streak. Every day I'm doing this. And so every day for at least 30 minutes, I'm sitting there doing my Duolingo. So I do all sorts of things to just keep it together.
You know what I love? What you said, the not multitasking as a form of self-care. I don't know if I was ever fully for real diagnosed, but I totally know I have like ADHD.
You and me both.
Totally have, and I'm totally OCD too. And either I'm super OCD or it's just like, oh, whatever, one or the other. But that idea of not multitasking is such a powerful thing. So I must tell you, so even like being here live with you right now, as these calls are coming in, me being able, because usually I would be like trying to engage with someone, but when you're live, really it forces you to be focused and intentional and committed and that sort of thing. And I think that that's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything that my audience can do to support you? Please let them know. We already have the website for browngirljane.com. It's Brown Girl Jane on Instagram. And so please let us know. How else can we support the fabulous Tai?
Thank you. Support me first and foremost, always with prayers. And I try and send those back out into the world daily. And then, support yourself with your health and your wellness. I think that's the greatest gift we can give to the world and to the people that we love, by nurturing ourselves. And join our community. Sign up for the newsletter on Brown Girl Jane. We're excited to be launching Glow. I'm going to be launching it with a fabulous, fabulous, dynamic woman who I love and who I have the opportunity to call a friend, but who is just the most spirited and centered person I know. So I'm super excited about that. And experience Brown Girl Jane. I think that and share it and talk about your health, your wellness, your wholeness, and your centeredness.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We have another dynamic show tomorrow. We have Antonia St. Dunbar. If you don't know who she is, you need to check it out. But she is the creator, one of the co-founders of Antonia St. New York Shoes. So check them out. They are amazing shoes. And
I like her name.
Yes. Yeah. It's really catchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Please start the watch party, share, tell a friend. This is where we're at, the Ask Dr. Renee Show. Next week, we have another set of amazing shows lined up for you. And we already have, you are the 99th show.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we have 99 shows. They're all over there on YouTube. Go check them out. We've had some really great guests. But thank you so much, Tai. I appreciate you and your
Renee.
Time.
Love and blessings to you. Thank you so much.
Too.
And thanks to your amazing audience.
Thank you.